Welcome back to the channel. I am your Atlanta home guide, and in this video we are going to be talking about moving from the West Coast to the East Coast. More in particular, moving from Arizona to Atlanta. Now, before we get into the video, I want to go ahead and let you guys know that yes, I am a realtor in Atlanta, Georgia. If you were interested in buying, selling, relocating, investing, anything real estate related, please feel free to reach out to me. My number is down below the description box. If you don't want to call me, you can shoot me a text, you can email me, you can schedule a call with me. We can hop on a live Zoom call, we can chat about it. All of my communication methods are open availability for anybody, so feel free to hit me up. Now, without further ado, let's get to the first topic. Let's first talk about weather, because weather is probably like the biggest difference I noticed when I was moving from Arizona to Atlanta. One of the biggest things in Arizona, and I feel like all my people watching from the West Coast and even Arizona can relate to it, it is extremely hot. It is burning up. In Arizona, it feels like the whole year is just in the summer, especially like when you actually are in the season of summer. It's like 90 degrees on like a regular day, and sometimes it can actually range to hit like the low 100s, like 100, 105, and if you're lucky, 107, 108. You know, it can hit very, very, very high numbers, and it's full freaking hot. Now, when it gets like cool into the cooler seasons in Arizona, you can expect it to be like, if you're like early in the morning or late at night, you can maybe hit like the 50s, the 60s, maybe like a 49, 48. If it's during the day, you'll probably be ranging like your 70s, your 80s, and that's just in wintertime. Like you're like a normal day in Arizona, you're in your like your 70s to 80s in like the daytime for like winter. In Atlanta in the winter, oh my, it is freezing cold. Like it'd be so cold, like you can put on, like when I was in school out here, like going to school out here in like Atlanta and everything, in the morning waiting for the bus, you're just standing there getting frozen into like an icicle. Because, and when Atlanta, when it gets cold, like it's real cold. It's not as cold as like New York, but you still down here in the South, because down here in Atlanta we experience all seasons. We get the summers, we get the winters, we get the falls, everything. We experience all of it. So when we're talking about wintertime, like you definitely need to bring some clothes. And if you're moving from Arizona, you don't really have any, definitely, depending on when you're moving, like if you're moving down here in like the summertime, you know, you'll be okay. But if you're moving down here more close like the fall, winter time, you need to bring some winter clothes, because it's going to be freezing cold. The one layer jacket and one layer pants is not going to help. You got to maybe have at least 2, maybe even 3 layers, just depending on like where in the state you're at. Because like if you're like up more north, it's going to be more cold than, of course, if you're like kind of down towards south or more near like Florida and stuff like that. But regardless, you need to get in your coats, maybe some long johns, long sleeve shirts, some thicker socks. You just need to be getting these things. Maybe a scarf, a beanie. Like I'm telling you, it gets cold. I'm not exaggerating. Like it gets really cold out here. Now let's transition into talking about like the geography and like the culture. So as far as geography goes, Atlanta, if I had to put in like a ratio perspective, I would definitely say Atlanta is like 50-50. 50% city and 50% like country / suburban. And for Arizona, I would say it's like 80 or 70% suburban and like 20 or 30% country. Because I hear in Atlanta, it's like the heart of Atlanta, like we talk about the metro, like it extends, like even in like certain suburban areas, like it's still like a city type of like lifestyle aspect to it. But like the further you get out, that's when you start to really reach like the suburban and like that country lifestyle feel. However, what I can remember from Arizona, most of the state is pretty much like suburban, and it's the country parts is kind of like more like smaller, niche down a little bit, but you'll definitely still see like the country out there in Arizona. Now let's talk a little about like the pace of life and like just the culture. Now definitely when I first moved here, definitely was a culture shock, because in Arizona I'm so used to it just being like chill and laid back and like more like Arizona, Arizona and Atlanta are both friendly, but in Arizona, it's like, I like to use the term politically correct, especially in the West Coast. Out here in the South, it's more so like you're like Southern hospitality. So when I moved out here, it's definitely more fast paced. So be aware if you are moving from Arizona and just the West Coast in general, it is more fast paced. So I know we're used to like our nice, chill, laid back lifestyle like there in the West, but coming to Atlanta, it starts to speed up. And I'm not gonna even say like the people out here are rude. They're just more blunt. respect, if I can say. You know, like I said, you still got your Southern hospitality. You still got your, hey, how you doing? Good morning. Nice to meet you. Hold the door open. Like, you still got your, like, your traditional. And that's another thing. Atlanta is very traditional and, like, a lot of heritage and, like, a real, like, cultural and historical and stuff like that. It's like a strong sense because it's like in the South, you know, during, like, the Civil War and, like, slavery, all that was primarily taking place, like, in Georgia, you know, really, like, in the South. Georgia and Alabama, those are, like, the main states, especially Georgia. Like, you got the Battle of Gettysburg, all that. I'm not gonna give y'all a history lesson, but y'all get the point, right? But back to my point, it's just real, like, strong, like, this culture out here in Atlanta. Like, another thing that I realized is a difference in Arizona. A lot of people, because Arizona, it's like a smaller state, you know, and things are more so, like, less, like, cost money, you know. So when a lot of people move to Arizona, like, you'll ask them where they're from. It's very rare that you'll hear somebody in Arizona say, I'm from Arizona. It's more so like, you know, I'm from Cali, I'm from Las Vegas, I'm from, like, here, I'm from here. In Georgia, pretty much every person that you ask where they from, they're gonna say, I'm from Atlanta, or I'm from here. Pretty much everybody's gonna say, I'm from Atlanta. Nobody's gonna say, you know, I'm from, like, Peachtree, or I'm from, like, Stockbridge, or I'm from Douglasville, or I'm from, no. When you ask somebody, they're gonna say, yeah, I was born and raised here. Because most people that live here, they stay here. You know, Atlanta is not really, like, a bad place. There's not really, like, a reason to jump up and leave. Like, besides, like, of course, like, you know, like, certain things that happen, like, you know, the cons of it, like traffic and, like, stuff like that. But for the most part, Atlanta is, like, a great place to, like, you know, have a family if you want to. But I would honestly say I would prefer to have a family more in Arizona. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Arizona is smaller. You know, it's a smaller state. So there's pros and cons to being a smaller state. But I'm going to talk about the pros right now for family people, right? With Arizona being smaller, Arizona's talent pool and competition market is, like, smaller than something like Atlanta. Because Atlanta, every market is competitive. Real estate is competitive. Healthcare is competitive. The music industry is extremely competitive. Content creation is extremely competitive. So there's a lot of competitive industries. Arizona is more smaller. So, for example, let's say you have a family, you might have, like, a kid or two. Out there in Arizona, there's not that many. It's not like a huge talent pool compared to, like, your Atlantas. And Atlanta's competing for academic and, like, athletic scholarships is very high. In Arizona, it's not that much, you know, people. So, like, the competition is pretty low. So you can get, like, a nice scholarship for your kid. You can get you a nice, like, you know, it's less competition. Atlanta market is very more competitive, but at the same time, with it being more competitive, it is more rewarding. For example, a little bit about school. Atlanta schools are pretty good. One thing Atlanta, you know, does offer, and really the whole state, is something called a Hope Scholarship. So as long as you have, like, a 3.0 or above, you know, you can qualify for the Hope Scholarship. Now, the Hope Scholarship, if I can remember correctly, it pays, like, 80% of, like, you know, your college dues. And then they have another scholarship called the Zell Miller. Now, Zell Miller is, like, if you're, like, a 4.0 or above. So if you're, like, a 4.0 GPA or above, like, it's 100% is covered as long as you can maintain that 4.0 or as long as you can maintain that 3.0. So that's another good thing. Like, as far as schooling goes, it's pretty easy to get scholarship. Like, as long as you get a 3.0, you can get in there. And then, of course, like, the other ways you can get scholarships, like, you know, you can do, like, writing essays and stuff like that. But if we're just talking about specifically things that Georgia offers and stuff like that, it's amazing. And another point I want to add, Atlanta and Arizona they definitely are both, like, a land of opportunity per se. However, Atlanta does have a little bit more of an edge in Arizona because, number one, like, the population. Number two, like I told you guys in my first video, Atlanta is literally like the new Wall Street, the Hollywood of the South. Like, it's popping, it's booming, it's only going to continue to grow, you know. So definitely, if you're looking for, like, a lot of opportunity, whether it's work, professional life, even if you guys want to hop into, like, the dating aspect of things, you know, Atlanta is very diverse in culture, very diverse in people. And while we're talking about diversity, let's talk about the food, man. I'm getting hungry. Let's talk about the food. Food in Arizona, since it's, now I will say this, Arizona, like we all know, it's more located near the border, right? So with it being near the border, most of the food is kind of like more of, like, Hispanic heritage. Like, you run into, like, a lot of Mexican restaurants, a lot of, like, smokehouses. Like, Arizona got great barbecue, great street taco, burritos, hot dogs, like, stuff like that. Now we're talking about Atlanta. Now the food, I definitely, I like Arizona food, but if I had to say what I would like better, it definitely, I would say Atlanta. And the reason I'm saying Atlanta is definitely more, it got that nice soul food, man. I'm talking about your nice yams, your greens, you got your nice steak, your cornbread, your macaroni. It's like, in Atlanta, it's like every day is Thanksgiving, I'm not gonna lie. Like, the food that you're getting, especially if you go to, like, the nice, like, mom and pop restaurants that serve, like, the nice Soul food, it is amazing. Outside of soul food, like you got like nice places like Varsity. Chick-fil-A is heavy out here. Chick-fil-A, everybody in Atlanta love, for the most part, like love Chick-fil-A. Like you ask somebody, Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A. One thing I do miss about Arizona is like In-N-Out burgers and your Jack in the Boxes. Atlanta doesn't have a single Jack in the Box. It doesn't have a single In-N-Out burger. The nearest Jack in the Box near us is like in South Carolina, I think. So for me to get there, I have to take like a couple of hours just to go get some Jack in the Box. And Jack in the Box and In-N-Out is pretty good. I miss that food, you know. But if I had to prefer, I would prefer Atlanta. You know, the nice soul food, the nice like Chick-fil-A. They got Varsity. Varsity is pretty. I don't want to say Varsity is overhyped. It's just not what, you know, I don't even want to ruin the experience for nobody. Try Varsity and you give your own opinion about it. I enjoyed the food. It was great. It is greasy, you know, so just prepare for that. Let's talk about traffic and roads. And I'm going to start with Atlanta first. Atlanta, driving is so aggressive out here. Like, driving in Atlanta is not for the weak. You cannot, not for the faint of heart. You really have to, like, you got to stand up for yourself out here in Atlanta. Like, I'm telling you, you don't stand up for yourself, people are going to be cutting you off. It'll be your right away. They're still gonna go. People are gonna like honk at you. Oh my goodness. I have so much anxiety still to this day driving in Atlanta. When I first started driving out here, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I got into like my first wreck within 2 weeks because in Atlanta, people are so aggressive. They don't want to wait. Like I'm sitting here, like I'm driving. This is how it happened, right? Short story. I'm driving, red light. I'm starting to slow down. This person thinks I'm finna like just try to like buck the red light. Like I'm just finna skip it. So they think I'm finna just go past it, not knowing I'm stopping in the back of me. And it's just stuff like that. It's like, dude, like most people out here drive very, very crazy. Not all of them, just like a good amount of people drive very crazy out here. And it seems like every time, like especially on the major highways out here, like the I-20, 285, it's always a car accident that starts the traffic, because traffic is crazy out here. The main reason traffic is so bad is because of a car accident, and the car accident will block up like 2 lanes. So imagine you're driving on one of the most busiest highways in this state, and there's a car wreck that blocks 1 or 2 lanes. Traffic is going to be crazy, especially you need to get to work. You got somewhere to be. You're not going to make it there on time. So that's why it's good. If you're leaving in Atlanta, like driving and stuff like that, please plan accordingly. And another thing, please do not miss your exit. If you miss your exit in Atlanta, Georgia, it is going to be a nightmare trying to turn around. Because in Arizona has like this grid system. So like if you miss your exit, you can just take the next one, turn around, boom. Atlanta, it is so complex. Like, I kid you not. It's been multiple times that I can remember just off the top of my head where somebody was about to miss their exit. And this is the left lane. I'm over here. And there's cars in the middle driving. In Atlanta, don't even care. Like they don't care. Like you can literally look on like right now on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. You'll see videos of like people driving in Atlanta and the exit's coming up. They'll just shh, or because everybody, and because it's so hard. Because if you miss that exit, it's gonna be like I told you guys. It's gonna be a nightmare trying to get back. So definitely tips for Atlanta drivers, new drivers coming from the West. Definitely plan accordingly. If you're trying to be I don't care how close you think it is, how close it says it is on the maps. Leave 30 minutes to an hour early. I'm doing you a favor. You're supposed to be somewhere at 2 o'clock. Leave at 1 o'clock, 1:15, 1:30 maybe at the latest, just depending on how far out, wherever you're going and stuff like that. Pay attention to your GPS. Watch your exits, because I'm telling you, in Atlanta, and especially like aside from a highway, if you're in the city and you're driving, like when you're supposed to turn, it's just so, in the roads, it's so narrow. There's so many potholes in the road because like Atlanta, like I said, it's a big industrial hub. A lot of these trucks, they got so much weight on these trucks. So you got to think about it. These trucks, thousands of trucks are just driving on the same roads day by day by day. Eventually, these roads are going to start giving in with all the weight and all this people that's driving on at the same time. That starts to create these potholes in the road. And with these potholes, you'll drive into them. A lot of different things happen. You hit a pothole. You hit a pothole, you could get a flat tire or something. I had that happen to me. Hit a pothole, had a flat tire. You can hit a pothole and you can start losing control, or you can just run over the pothole, nothing happens. It's just the potholes. I just hate going into them, especially once you get like you're in a highway, you're coming to the city. It's the roads start to narrow. So like I told you guys in my very first video, the roads are so narrow. Like it feels like you're driving on like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, in the movie Indiana Jones, like when he's like running across the bridge, and like it's such a narrow bridge, and it just feels like the bridge just keep falling apart and stuff like that. That's what it feels like driving out here, because it's so narrow. It feels like if you just like you're driving, and if you just just a little bit, you're literally gonna hit somebody, or someone's gonna hit you or just scrape your car. That's just how narrow the roads are made. Now let's talk about family friendly and safety. If we definitely, I'm gonna give you guys my honest opinion, right? If you're moving from Arizona or the West Coast from Atlanta, you really need to do your research, and that's why you have an amazing realtor like me to help you with that. You need to really do your research on what area you want to move in, because Atlanta, it is one of those bigger states in the country, so it does come with a lot of crime rate. It does really, it's heavy out here, depending on what areas you live in. Like I said, that's why it's important. Do your research. Make sure you know about the crime rate. Make sure you know what area you're moving into. You don't want to move into like a place like Bankhead or like College Park or like East Point. I'm not trying to like downplay none of these areas. It just so happens that's where like a lot of crime happens in like those specific cities and stuff like that. Now let's address guns and gun controls and all from my, my good old gun owners, right? Moving from Arizona to Georgia is, you're not really going to see a big difference, because as far as I know, Arizona is an open carry state, so my brother was telling me, like, literally in Arizona, like, his teacher's making him a joke. Literally in Arizona, you can literally buy like a gun out of somebody's truck. That's just how how easy it is to get your hands on guns. And Georgia, I honestly feel like it's the same way, especially with Brian Kemp. He just signed like a new bill in the place where you no longer need to have like a permit to like have your carry your gun and everything like that. You can literally conceal carry without a permit. So moving from Arizona to like Atlanta, you're definitely gonna have like the same, pretty much, I would definitely say, gun rights. It's not really that big of a difference. If you're moving to somewhere like Cali, you're gonna have freedom. You're gonna have freedom compared to the straight gun laws out there in California. When you move out here to Georgia, you're gonna have some real freedom. You're gonna, oh my goodness. Now we're talking about cost of living. I already told you guys Atlanta is pretty affordable to live in, but Arizona is even more cheaper. And the reason for that being is because, like I said earlier, and here's one of the pros. Arizona is a smaller state, so they can afford to charge lower. It's not that much demand. It's a smaller state, Atlanta on the side is big, it's growing. So both places, like cost of living are, rising and stuff like that. However, I feel like Atlanta is maintaining like a steady rate, because how with the market, the real estate market was pretty much doing this like the whole year, So it's at a steady area right now. I would definitely say for Arizona, it's more of like on like an incline, because more people are moving out there. Because more people are finding out, hey, Arizona is like a cheaper California. So you got people from California coming. You got people coming from like your Las Vegases, your Utahs. You got people moving from all over, So with that happening, stuff is starting to go up. Now let's talk about like things to do. Like, what's to do? I mean, that's the really big thing. Yeah, you can have the food, you can have all this weather and all this stuff, but what is there to do? I will say this, my Arizona people, I know you guys, especially when I was out there, most of the time I was living inside of my house. It's just so hot in Arizona. Like, in Arizona, it's so hot. Like, you step outside your house, you're burning up. You're walking outside in the summertime, you're walking out to not only 90, 100-degree heat. When you're going to open your car door with a car, ouch, the car door is hot. You put on your seatbelt, you got the metal part on your seatbelt, ouch, that's hot. Everything is just hot, and it comes to a point where you really can't even be outside for long periods of time, because you're going to end up burning up, heat exhaustion, all this different type of stuff, right? Versus a place like Atlanta, where Atlanta, it's not hot all the time. Like, of course, it's in the summer, it gets hot, but in Atlanta, like, you'll never see a 100-degree day. And on the summertime in Atlanta, you'll probably be like in 80s to like maybe if you're lucky, the 90s. Most of the time, it sits between like the mid and high 90s. So it's not too hot to do anything. Like, you can go to Six Flags over Georgia. You got the Hurricane Harbor. You can go like outdoor go-kart. You can do your paintballing. They got like, it's a whole bunch of different stuff to do out here. Then you got the Beltline. You can go out there and have a great time with the Beltline. It's just so many more activities to do, because it's not like you're not trapped inside in Atlanta, because it's not so hot to the point where you can't even go outside. Arizona's the opposite. It's literally so hot out there to the point where you have to stay inside because it just gets too hot. Atlanta, you can have fun inside, outside, it doesn't matter. So that's another thing I would definitely say. If you're looking for like more things to do and more fun to have, Atlanta definitely has it, because the weather, it allows for that. Now, other than that, honestly, I think we can wrap up the video. And like I said, guys, I am a realtor in Atlanta. If you need help buying, selling, relocating, investing, I don't care what it is, you just have any questions at all for real estate, ask me. My text messages are open. My Instagram DMs are open. If you want to email me, if you want to call me, if you want to hop on like a face-to-face Zoom call, I'm available. And all the links for those are going to be down in the description. So I really hope I was able to help you guys, educate you guys. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please share it, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching.